Good afternoon, fellow YouTubers. This is your least favorite moto vlogger, KTM. This video I'm going to do a 10-hour review on the 2022 KTM 500 EXC-F. This is my third KTM, and I can tell you this one does not disappoint at all. Using typical KTM equipment, I've got the Brembo brakes, smooth like butter, very predictable, not grabby in any way. You can feather it nice. Nice shiny, nice and clean. Gotta love that big rotor. I've had a good 10 hours on this. I'll go through some stuff I like, some things I'm not crazy about, but well, I can deal with, because well, not everything is perfect. Again, Brembo clutch, smooth like butter. I took the factory handguards off because they only come to about here. I prefer the full wraparound type, that's just my preference. I took off those big ugly mirrors. They even give you an extra, I forget what it's called. But the one with the stock mirrors has a mirror mount in it. Well, they give you these ones so it gets rid of that. I just put on these cheap eBay mirrors. They're foldable. They're out of the way for when you ride off-road. Typical KTM, high beam, low beam, left, right, horn. Here's my clock. Typical KTM. Not quite sure if you can see that. I've got 77 kilometers just on this tank, 411 total at 9.7 hours. Key is up here on this one, where my last one was down here. I prefer it up here actually. It's out of the way, you don't get this ugly thing flapping, distracting you. Kill switch, start button. One thing what I don't like about this, I can't kneel down, this stuff is hard. This transmission, it's a 6-speed, like normal KTM's, but 4th gear and 5th gear are so close together. I think there's only 3/4 of a revolution difference between 4th gear and 5th gear, that it's basically like a 5-speed. I'm not crazy about that, but it's just something to get used to. Typical 14 tooth front, 52 tooth rear. Not the greatest for riding street, I noticed, because you're kind of in between gears to do the speed limits. But for off-road, gearing is just perfect. Here's a shot at the back, typical Brembo. Nice big disc, nice swing arm. The other thing to watch for is this rubber flap here tends to rub on your swing arm. And if you're not careful, they've been known to rub right through if you don't watch that. So that's something you got to address. What I do like, right here you got a hot start. Take that yellow knob, push it in, fire the bike up. When you start it, move it backwards, it turns the hot start off. And there's also, I'm not sure if you can see it, but right there, there's an idle screw. What I had to do with this one is, being brand new, it was flaming out on me. After I run down the highway, pulling the clutch of gear down, the bike would stall. So I'd increased my idle. I pretty much got rid of that altogether. Factory signal lights. This headlight, not the greatest. It's better than the last two KTMs I had. They were equivalent to about 1 candle light. This one's about 2. Not the greatest. I noticed if you're riding through woods single track at night, you outrun the low beam. But when you switch to high beam, there's about a 15-foot gap in front of you where it's all black. So what I've been doing is just switching back and forth. It's kind of annoying, but gets the job done. Another thing I do like, see if I can get this off, and what I would highly recommend is greasing these, because they've been known to get stuck in here and then you end up breaking your cover. But a nice bright orange in there. It matches the rest of the bike so you can actually see how dirty it is in there. Like I said, I've had 10 hours on here. I haven't touched this air filter yet. It's still sticky, fairly clean. I've done some off-road with it, a lot of on-road, but this is something new, at least for me. These forks, as a pair, work as one unit like shocks normally do, but in this case, your left fork is your compression. All it does is your fork down. You have two adjustments. You can adjust your preload 1 to 10, and then you have your other one. This shock, all it does is your rebound, and it's the Explorer fork. It's not the air forks. So when your compression on this one does absolutely nothing. It's the red one that does all the work on the right fork. I wasn't sure about that when I first got this bike, because I'm old school, I guess you could say, where both forks do the same job. But I had it explained to me that it's easier for one fork to do one job than one fork to do rebound and compression. So that's why they do that. And when you think about it, that makes sense. Trial bikes have been doing that for years. Mountain bikes have been doing that for years. Now that I think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Rear shock, typical KTM. Got your one there, got your spring tension, got your other one down there. I have not adjusted or touched any of the shocks settings yet. I'm 6'2", 6'3" with shoes on, and 215 pounds with my gear. I'm not launching off 100-foot jumps, nothing like that, but for just straight woods riding, hitting through some whoops and sand pits, going over small jumps, I've yet to bottom out the shocks. Guys heavier than me, yeah, they're probably going to want a respring. But for me, I think I'm just going to leave it. I do notice a difference between this and the 08 that I had. This one doesn't seem to have as much bottom end, but keep in mind, these bikes are totally choked up with restrictions for the whatchamacallit. I forget how to talk now. Anyway, basically, get your exhaust pipe and you get your outlet. That's 80% restricted. There's a great big thing, long thing in here about this long that stops it from breathing properly, I guess you could say. I'm gonna wait till my warranty's up. I'm gonna put in another ECU. Just change the end cap. You don't have to change the whole mufflers on these bikes, because they're pretty good and they've been dyno tested. You just change the end cap. You gain a bunch of power, you get your noise up, which a lot of people like, myself included. There's your O2 sensor on this one. The only, what you're gonna call it, smogging on this bike is, and it does not, and this is from people who run them on dynos, it does not gain or lose power if you take your smog system out. In the frame, up in here, there's your charcoal canister. And you got a hose coming from your gas tank down into your charcoal canister. And you got two hoses coming out to that valve right in there. That's all there is for emission control. The only suggestions that I've heard, the reason to get rid of that emission control is if you get a vacuum leak anywhere in those hoses, then you'll start running lean, because it's before the ECU, or after, sorry. But yeah, I just love this bike. If I could ride it all day, I would, but my body just won't let me. And I will say it is excellent on fuel. Mind you, it's running really, really lean right now. Not dangerously lean, but if you put a pipe on it or a muffler, you have to change the ECU. That's just common knowledge. I've already done my break-in. If you haven't watched my video, go watch it. That was only part of the break-in. I went again that night and I rode her hard through some bush trails, did some supermoto style riding. This bike takes it all. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I enjoy making these videos, and there's a lot more videos to come. Remember, it's not what you ride, it's that you ride. Be safe out there, guys, and have fun.